She's definitely farting. I can already smell it. Hi everyone, welcome back to Sunset Wildlife Connections YouTube vlog channel. My name is Margaret. I am the co-founder and lead wildlife specialist right here at SWC. If you are new, we are an exotic animal rescue and community outreach program. So we rescue exotic animals, we train them to become ambassadors for their species, and then we do outreach programs with the animals. So today is a long overdue animal spotlight. And I've done a bird. It will be in the description if you guys want to check that out. I did a margarita, one of our Harlequin macaws. And then I also did Michael J. That was our extreme neglect case fox, who again, I will put a link into the description for you guys so that you guys can check that out. We're gonna do a reptile today. So let's go say hi, let's go meet her, and then we're gonna do some of her husbandry. Well, we talk all about her species, and a little bit more about some conservation and responsible pet ownership. So come follow me along as we go and meet our animal spotlight of this week. All right, guys, so this is our animal spotlight we're doing today. I actually have two bearded dragons. I don't know why it looks so green up here, but it must just be the lights. This is Fig. So we have Fig, Newton, and then actually below here is Slash, our blue-tongued skink. And then we also have another bearded dragon that's in our mammal room, but he's a little bit younger. He's super crazy if he's even around the other bearded dragons. So we shoved him in our mammal room and he does just fine there. But we're going to talk a little bit about Fig, and let me sit down here. So this is again Fig, and she is a silky bearded dragon. So what I'm going to do right now is talk just a little bit, maybe like a couple minutes, about her rescue story, and then what we're going to do is we're going to actually bathe her, which is a part of her normal husbandry that we do here. And we might even cut a little bit. I have some aloe vera and it's doing really well, so I might just like cut a little sliver of that, and we're going to actually put a little bit on her because it's really good for her skin. So let's take her out and see if she wants to hang out with us for a minute. So if I'm being completely 100% transparent, she is not like the sweetest bearded dragon in the whole world. I know that a lot of bearded dragons are like gonna cuddle with you, they'll hang out with you for a long time. Then let's see if we can get her in a better position. Come here. Here, is that better? Okay. So a lot of bearded dragons will usually like hang out on the couch with you. They don't mind being around you. I'm going to talk a little bit quieter because I'm like right up in her ears and I don't want to like yell at her. So yeah, anyway, she again is a silky bearded dragon. So we're just going to see how long she wants to chill with me and talk a little bit about bearded dragons in general. So if you didn't know, bearded dragons are from Australia, and all of the bearded dragons that we have in breeding programs or captive breeding programs here in the United States all come from one species of bearded dragon. So there's different morphs is what they're called, so different colors, or in her case different skin type, because she does not have scales. So she is a silky bearded dragon. Now we also have a regular bearded dragon. I think he's like a sunburst or something like that. And then we also have a leatherback bearded dragon. But all of those bearded dragons originally come from the same species out in Australia. There are actually 8 different species of bearded dragons, and the one that was selected for captive breeding programs was the friendliest. So that's why they took those ones. See how I told you she's kind of like, why are we sitting here? Why am I out? But anyway, so bearded dragons are omnivores. They're actually opportunistic omnivores, meaning they'll eat anything and everything that comes their way. Now, one of my favorite things is that they have I'll show it to you whenever we put her into the bath, but they have a third eye. So I will show you what the third eye looks like, and I'll show you that in just a second. Ow! Where are you going? Oh, I can't even see you. You're just gonna hang out there. Again, opportunistic omnivores. So my feeding schedule she's like all up in my hair. Oh, okay. Is that better, girl? Okay. So my feeding schedule for my bearded dragons is they get fed 6 days a week. So they get fed insects, which here in Florida, we can't get dubias. I wish we could, but they are illegal here in Florida. So I mostly feed crickets and then super worms. Now, depending on what store I end up going to, or if I go to a reptile expo, it is nighttime, so our lights are turning off. It's probably like 6 or 7 at night right now. So anyway, that's why our lights are all on an automatic timer, which is so nice. I don't have to come in and turn on all these lights. They're all auto. But anyway, what was I saying? Shoot. I seriously lost my train of thought. Bearded dragons. Okay, I quite literally lost my train of thought, so I just set her down so she can run around for a second. Don't go under there. Oh, and you're gonna go under there. Lovely. So anyway, what I mostly feed is going to be crickets, worms, and then again, if I go to a reptile expo or to a certain store, then I can get a specific kind like hornworms or silkworms or something else for them as a variety. A variety is obviously the best thing that you can do with lizards or even just reptiles in general. The bigger variety, look at how cute she is. Where are you going? Hi, you getting back to me? What a good girl. You ready for a bath? Yeah, where are you going? You're gonna go side of the skink. Yeah, you're so silly. So now we're gonna actually set her up a bath. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna talk a little bit about her rescue story. And then after her rescue story, then we are gonna actually go and talk a little bit more in detail. So I'm getting her bath prepared. I guess I'll show you that first, hang on. So we've got that. Next, I'm gonna get a towel. I don't have like all those other towels, but I don't feel like searching through them right now. Okay, so let's get her back out. Yeah, I can hear girly pop. Hello, you ready for bath time? Now, I want this to be in between 90 and 100, so I'm gonna use this little heat tool, and this is gonna test the temperature. So it's a little bit too high, but it's going down pretty quickly. So we're just gonna kind of let it sit for a second and talk a little bit about her and her rescue story. Then while she's in the bath, we're gonna go get that aloe like I talked about. I'm gonna go cut that out, but here, I'll show you her third eye real quick. Let's see if we can zoom in. Stay right here. So you see, I'll mark it like in, it's too hard to like get because she's like likes to move a lot, but I'm gonna show you, it's right there in the center, and that is their third eye. So that actually functions as something really cool. Third eye is kind of like a sensor in your car. So you know how like when you are in the car and you're backing up and then somebody, you know, the sensor will set off if you're like about to back into a tree, for example. It's gonna go beep, 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 beep. And that is pretty much what this does. So you can see she's got the eyes on either side, similar to like a deer or another prey or preyed on animal. So she has those two, and then she lives in Australia, remember? So not this particular one, obviously. So naturally, that's where she's going to live. And in Australia, there's lots of big animals. There's vultures, there's big prey out there, and predators and raptors and all kinds of crazy animals out in Australia. So they have to be able to see at the top. So that, even if like just like a wave like this, so she can see that. She could see, oh, she just like falls. so she can actually see all of that. And then one more thing that it does is really, really cool. It actually will release a hormone from that specific scale. Okay, we're gonna put you in the bath. You ready? Ready for it? Test the water. So you can see that I am holding her back a little bit from the water. I don't want her to just jump right in. She has very sensitive skin because she's a silky bearded dragon, and I don't want her to shock or burn herself or anything like that. And that's again why we test the water, so that we make sure that she has the right temperature. But after a while, she just kind of sits. And then what I like to do, I think she's gonna poop. She's definitely farting. I can already smell it. That's okay though. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna clean her up and then get her in a new bath because I do want her to soak for a little bit. Okay. So now I like to actually do this. So we're not gonna be able to see her for a second. Just see her little head. I like to do that because it actually holds in the humidity. Let me see if I can show you like underneath. So it will actually hold in the humidity, and then that will help her to shed all of her little scales in her skin. I feel like we've been all over the place. So let me finish talking about the third eye. The third eye, so like I said, it works as a sensor. So then the really cool thing that it does is it actually is going to, where are you going? Where are you going? No, ma'am. Oh, no, ma'am. You have to stay in here. No, you have to come here. So I had to just completely cover her, because if I didn't, then she would just be running rampant. And again, I really want her to stay in this for a little while. So, okay. My gosh, this has been a hot mess. But that's okay. That's literally life working with animals. It's never gonna be perfect. The animals they're animals. They're gonna do their own thing. And that is literally life, and that is how we have to do it. So I'm not gonna edit much of this stuff out. I mean, I'll still edit bits and pieces and the boring stuff out. But woo, that is definitely working with animals. It is always chaos. Anyways, so going back to her and her third eye. We haven't even talked about her rescue story yet. It's okay. So the third eye, what it's going to do is this is a sensor, okay? And then after it's a sensor, then what it's going to do is it will actually release a hormone from that specific scale. From that specific scale, it is going to release a hormone at the exact time of year when it is breeding season. It will release the breeding hormone. So that is really, really wild that one modified scale can actually do all of that, doing the sensory work and then also being able to release the hormone at the exact right time when it is appropriate for bearded dragons to be breeding. So pretty cool facts about bearded dragons. Hopefully you guys learned a little something there. But let's talk about Fig and her rescue story deep down in here. But while we do that, let's go cut some aloe. The aloe is actually in my bathroom. And if you guys didn't know, I actually live here on site with the animals. So we're going to run into the bathroom really quick and chop up a little bit of that aloe vera because I want to be able to put it on her. So going back to her rescue story. So Fig and Newton, both of them actually came to my animal rescue when it was like October of 2021, I believe. So they came to me in pretty poor shape, actually. I'm gonna grab this and bring this over. Turn some lights on so we can see something. So her and Newton actually came to our animal rescue again in October of 2021. So they both came together. What I was doing is I was actually trying to get a couple 10 gallons, and the 10 gallons were for just anything that I needed them for. They were selling like 20 or 30 and I wanted, I think 5 or 10. I think I only got 5. And they were like, what are you doing with them? And I was like, well, I run an animal rescue, so I need them for like pretty much any animals that I rescue, as well as I need them, you know, for display. I use them for display tanks, depending on like if it's a meet and greet of some kind, or like some people just like to have a good display. That's why I was getting them. So they asked me, oh my God, so you were an animal rescue? And I was like, yeah, I'm an animal rescue, is what I need them for. And they were like, wow, like we just got out of breeding bearded dragons. So do you want one? People still contact us about rescues all the time. And they have this Silkie and she was in poor shape. So we took her in. And I was like, okay, like not expecting to be rescuing animals. I'm gonna water this while it's here. So I was like not expecting to be like rescuing animals while I'm going to pick up 10-gallon tanks, right? And again, they were getting rid of the 10-gallon tanks because they weren't going to be breeding anymore. So since they weren't breeding anymore, they were like, well, here's a bearded dragon for you. And I was like, oh, okay. And they not only came out with 1 bearded dragon, but they came out with 2. So both of them came to us at the exact same time. And both of them were, like, Fig was definitely skinny and Newton was not skinny. So at least I know that they were feeding them. And again, Fig was only skinny because, again, she was a rescue case. So they had taken her in. They were not feeding her, obviously. And Silkies require more care than a normal bearded dragon does. So because of that, they took her in. But both her and Newton were just like covered in poop. Like I probably had to bathe her every single day for 2 weeks. And I had to bathe Newton every single day for like a week, just to get like the smell off of these poor animals. Our other bearded dragon was not taken care of well either. His name is Rio. He's in the other room. They never cleaned him for an entire year that they had him. Instead, they literally just sprayed perfume around his tank to try to get it to smell better, instead of just cleaning it. Like, just clean the enclosure. It doesn't make any sense. Then it really smelled bad because it was like cologne trying to mask the smell of poop, and it was just awful. Anytime I see my bearded dragon's poop, I clean it up immediately. One, because you don't want them to run through it, which does happen sometimes, and then we have to bathe them, which is fine, but we don't want them to run through it. But then 2, the smell is so bad. I work obviously with omnivores, herbivores, and carnivores, and omnivores always have the worst smelling poop every time. They always stink so bad. But anyway, so that's where she came from. That was her rescue story. It was really hard to kind of watch her and to see her. She's actually done really, really well now, weight-wise, but Silkies are hard. So let's talk a little bit about why Silkies specifically are hard. This is going to be kind of my ethical / conservation message for you. We're going to kind of clean her enclosure as well, but let's actually do that first while she's still in the bath, and then we can talk a little bit more about her and about some ethical things and some conservation. Okay, so it's kind of hard to see because like the lights and stuff turned off, but this is her setup. So I have all my bearded dragons on the tile. We're just going to remove all of these, and we're just going to kind of wipe everything down. And then this I'm just going to kind of move over because I don't want to take it all the way down. But I use chlorhexidine as my cleaning agent of choice. It's about 10%. Sometimes it's between like 5 and 10%. But it is safe for birds, mammals, and reptiles. So that's why this is my cleaning agent of choice. Grab some paper towels. We're just gonna wipe everything down. I wanna make sure I get into these crevices. Now that we got her clean, let's put her stuff back. This there. But what we're gonna do next is gonna go clean and scrub her water. So there is a lot of controversy about bearded dragons and if they need water or not. So I have some bearded dragons that have water in their houses, and then I have some that do not. So just because she specifically is a silkie, like we've talked about, because she's a silky bearded dragon, I always keep a water in there with her. So a lot of people will say sometimes to not put the waters in there, especially one this large, because it's not good for the humidity. It's not very humid in Australia where these guys live, which is mostly in the deserts of Australia. So you guys can hear me okay. If not, I will try and do a voiceover instead. But since these guys live in the desert, it can up the humidity a lot in their enclosures. And we obviously don't really want that either, because that's not where they're naturally from. But again, silkies are a little bit of a different story. So because silkies, and again, we're going to kind of get into the more of the ethics of this, but because silkies are pretty much like always shedding, it can be really hard to keep the humidity up in their houses, and you actually have to have a higher humidity for them for that reason, and that is to help them shed. So now that we've cleaned her enclosure, let's get her some water. Then we are going to talk a little bit about ethics of owning a silky bearded dragon, or even just owning animals and certain breeds and things like that in general. All right, I got her some nice, fresh, clean water. So let's talk about some ethics. Okay, let's first check on this little one. See what she's been doing. Hello. Hi, sweetheart. Are you a good girl? So I kind of like to help her with these little sheds sometimes. I know, does it hurt, honey? I'm sorry. Does it feel good being in a bath, though? You like your bath time? You good girl. So the hardest part about owning a silkie is that they take a lot of care because, and there she goes. Okay. All right. Hang on. Okay. So we're just going to let her dry off and talk about her. So you can see she's constantly shedding. So let's take our little aloe. I'll try to rub you some aloe on your skin. See if I can't squeeze out some of this juices. Just rubbing some aloe on her to help with her skin. This always makes it feel better. So silkies were bred from one specific bearded dragon, and that bearded dragon had no scales. Somebody thought that they liked that, and so that they continued breeding with no scales. So they pretty much inbreed. This is very similar to what happened with white tigers. If you did not know, white tigers are actually all from the same father. So that's why you see some that have a lot of issues with their eyes, or maybe they can't see, or there's like other like skin issues with white tigers. And that is, whoa, you're gonna just jump. Well, there she goes. Hopefully she'll come back in a second. What are you doing? Yeah. You gonna go running? Watch out, Abigail. Oh. Where are you going? Huh? Where are you going? I know that she doesn't look like the most beautiful bearded dragon in the entire world. She does have some scars from her previous homes where she was extremely neglected. It happens a lot with bearded dragons. Bearded dragons, unfortunately, are one of those pets that become neglected very easily. She, again, is fed 6 times a week. So the back that you can see, where you can see her bones, that is from old scarring. So then we don't want her to become too heavy, because then we don't want her to have to carry extra weight on her. And that also happens a lot. People will be like, well, why is your bearded dragons not super fat? Well, because most bearded dragons are actually overweight. And you can even see closely that she has some missing digits or fingers and toes. And that is because she did not get the proper lighting and the proper vitamins when she was either being raised and growing up or in her previous home. I'm just going to put her back because she's being crazy right now. This is like a disaster video. But it's okay. It's real life. It's real animals. Again, let's go back to the ethics. So, again, white tigers, they were all bred from the same father. And that's the same in this situation. They were all bred from the same one scaleless bearded dragon. So they just kept breeding it over and over and over. Now, it is okay to do certain things like that. Like, it's okay to breed a dog with spots, or a horse with spots or stripes, or who knows, like whatever. Like, it's okay to breed certain things if we like them. Crested geckos is a very good example. There's a lot of really good crested gecko breeders out there, and it's very selective breeding. Same thing with chickens. Anything really that humans have captive breeding programs for, we're trying to always enhance either the colors, maybe the structure of the animal, you know, the health of the animal. That's something that is something you should look for when you're looking for a good breeder. And that does include, especially with dogs, you have to make sure that you're not just finding somebody who's breeding because they look beautiful, they're a beautiful harlequin. No, you want to make sure that they're also breeding for the structure, and that they're also breeding for the health. If they're breeding unhealthy animals, you're going to get an unhealthy dog. Then you're going to spend a lot of money on something that is very unhealthy. I don't know what she's doing. So this is what happened here. Honestly, I would never, ever, ever purchase a silky bearded dragon. If I was shopping for a bearded dragon, I would never, ever, ever buy a silky. And that is for the ethical reason of, you saw how much she was shedding. You saw the bath and things that we had to do for her. You saw that we even have to have specialized things like this and specialized actual lighting for her to make sure she doesn't get sunburn. So because of all those things, she pretty much has a sunburn all the time. She has it constantly. We've all been sunburned. We all have had the itchy, scratchy feeling of a sunburn, and that's how she feels all the time. Now, is that really an ethical thing that we should be breeding? In my opinion, I think no. You guys can let me know in the comments if you think that this is something, you know, that you think I'm wrong, or that, you know, maybe there's another way of doing it. Let me know in the comments. But personally, I do not think this is an ethical animal to be breeding. It's going to be a hot take, but I also feel this way about some of the dogs in the dog industry. So this is just an example. Animals like Frenchies, Bulldogs, those two very specifically, I really believe that those two breeds should not exist. And it is for multiple reasons. Pugs is another one. They have very short snouts. So because they have very short snouts, they really can't breathe very well. Those dogs have a hard time breathing. And I know people love Frenchies, and I know people love Bulldogs. I know people love Pugs. They are adorable. But did you know that Bulldogs can actually not have natural birth? Every Bulldog that you see is a C-section. Now, I know people do C-sections all of the time, but that's something that that dog cannot choose. We are choosing that for them to undergo surgery and to have babies that way. If you think about the structure of a Bulldog, they have very broad shoulders and very tiny waists. Well, how is a broad-shouldered baby supposed to get out of that teeny tiny waist? They cannot. They have to be C-sectioned. And that is why it's very expensive to buy those dogs, because it requires surgery even to be able to birth them. So again, hot take, here I am, but I really do not believe that those dogs should be bred. And I know everybody loves those dogs, but I personally would never, ever, ever, ever purchase one of those dogs, because I personally do not believe that it is an ethical choice. Now, there's other dogs that are included in that category, certain German Shepherds with those hips. They get really bad hip dysplasia. If I were to purchase a German Shepherd, it would be with somebody who does not have those low hips. So there are certain ways you can do it. There are actually Frenchie breeders who are out there who are breeding for not that teeny tiny tight nose. So do your research. If that's a dog that you are just absolutely in love with and you have to have a Frenchie, do your research. That is so important when purchasing animals, especially purchasing from breeders. There's tons, we all know, of backyard breeders and mills, puppy mills, things like that. This is one of those situations where you would need to do a lot of research. And again, I personally do not believe that silkies should be a thing. I think that we should leave animals with scales, especially like an animal like her would never be able to exist out in the wild. That never ever would have been something that would have been selected to be continued to breed, because the sunburn, they would have never ever made it out in the wild that way. This is something that humans have created. And sometimes humans create things and they're just beautiful, and that's okay. And sometimes we create things that is quite unethical. So that is my hot take for the week. You guys can scorn me for it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. And I know probably lots of you have very cute dogs, but let's talk about the ethics. Let me know in the comments and we can have another conversation about it, because this is something that I believe in. And even if it's not something that you believe in, even just me sharing this with you is something that I also find very important when it comes to responsible pet ownership and animal education. All right, guys, that was a hot mess of a video because she was just like all over the place and it made me all over the place. So I hope you guys learned something from this video. It truly was a disaster, but that's okay. I still had a lot of fun doing it, and I hope you guys learned a little bit about bearded dragons. I hope you learned a little bit about silkies. Hopefully you do not go out and buy one because of this video. Hopefully I deterred you from getting a silky bearded dragon. But make sure you guys like, comment, and share this video. Make sure you guys are subscribed to our channel. Make sure your notifications are turned on so that you guys can be up to date on what new content we are putting out, maybe a new animal rescue or any of the animals that you guys see. And I will see you guys next time. Bye. So sleepy. Your lights are off and you got a bath and you pooped. You feel so much better. You do. Oh, good night, girl. Good night.